Leon Battista Alberti's De Re Aedificatoria is often described as the first modern architectural treatise, but paradoxically it stands as a critique of what modern architecture would later become. While Alberti's Renaissance world was one of fragmented Italian city-states, his vision of the perfect city transcended politics, geography, and time. He imagined a civic environment where proportion, harmony, and moral order shaped the lives of citizens. In the 21st century, cities across the world would have become increasingly homogeneous. Glass towers, modular facades, and standardized grids dominate skylines from Dubai to Dallas. The international style, born in the 1920s with Le Corbusier, Walter Gropius, and Mies van der Rohe, sought universality through minimalism, function, and form. But its legacy, replicated endlessly through global capitalism, has created aesthetic monotony, placelessness, and spiritual fatigue. This video argues that Alberti's conception of the perfect city as articulated in De Re Aedificatoria offers a powerful counterpoint to the monotony and uniformity of today's urban world. Alberti's principles of sight, proportion, and beauty and civic morality stand not as relics of humanism, but as enduring correctives to the alienation of the international style and its corporate successors. Alberti presents architecture not as a mechanical craft, but as a moral science. Drawing from Vitruvius, Plato, and Aristotle, Alberti defined architecture as the art of building that which will be useful, durable, and beautiful. These three virtues, utilitas, firmitas, and venustas, are inseparable. The perfect city embodies them simultaneously. In Book 1, Alberti writes that architecture's true aim is the well-being of a man in community. Thus, a city is not merely an agglomeration of buildings, but a moral organism in which every part, from the temple to the market, from the palace to the street, contributes to the ethical life of the whole. He saw architecture as an imitation of nature, not nature's chaotic forms, but its rational order. A beautiful city, like a beautiful body, reveals internal harmony through outward proportion. This humanist worldview contrasts sharply with the functional abstraction of the 20th century, where modernists reduced architecture to machines for living. Alberti believed that architecture should elevate the soul and cultivate virtue. His perfect city is not about efficiency alone, but about meaning. For Alberti, perfection begins with place. Book 1 insists that the architect must first consider the air, the water, the land, and the sky. The perfect city arises from the landscape. It grows from it, not against it. He warns that a poor site choice may bring sickness, discomfort, and ruin to all inhabitants. Thus, the ideal site is healthy, elevated, temperate, and resourceful. The city's orientation must invite beneficial winds and sunlight while protecting against dampness and disease. Compare this with the placelessness of the international style. Skyscrapers of glass and steel rise from Manhattan to Singapore on identical grids indifferent to climate or culture. Air conditioning replaces orientation, glass replaces shades, what Alberti considered a crime against nature. Building without regard to sight has become the default logic of global architecture. In Alberti's city, the environment is a collaborator. In today's global cities, it is an afterthought. His attention to local conditions anticipates contemporary sustainability, yet with a moral dimension. Harmony with nature mirrors harmony within the soul. The modern metropolis, by contrast, often expresses domination, a triumph of technology over context. Alberti's Dere Aedificatoria is famous for its insistence on order, symmetry, and proportion. But his order is not mechanical uniformity. He distinguishes true harmony from repetition. In Book 9, he writes, "Order is that arrangement which nothing may be added or taken away without injury to the whole." True order, then, implies organic unity, not sameness. Streets, facades, and squares must relate to one another like the limbs of a living body, distinct but proportionally interdependent. This is a crucial distinction from modernism's industrial order. The international style equated beauty with the repetition of pure forms. The glass curtain wall, the grid, the slab. The result is efficiency but also monotony. For Alberti, geometry is a means to express variety in harmony, not uniformity in mass production. His city contains a hierarchy of spaces: sacred, civic, domestic, monumental squares balanced with intimate courtyards, grand perspectives alternating with winding lanes suited to terrain. The perfect city is diverse, yet ordered, unified, yet alive. Modernism's universal grid, from Le Corbusier's Ville radieuse to corporate business parks, replaces this living order with mechanical repetition. What Alberti called convenient irregularity becomes an error to be corrected. In flattening difference, the modern city loses identity. Alberti's concept of pulchritudo, beauty, lies at the heart of this theory. In Book 6, he defines beauty as, quote, "the harmony of all parts, fitted together with such proportion and connection that nothing could be added or taken away but for the worse." Beauty is not ornament. It is the mathematical and moral coherence of a thing within itself and within its context. This harmony, Alberti believed, has ethical power. Beauty educates the citizen, nurtures virtue, and inspires civic pride. The modernist revolt against ornament, encapsulated in Adolf Loos's dictum, "Ornament is crime," and later in Mies van der Rohe's "Less is more," misunderstood this deeper sense of beauty. Stripped of ornament, modernism also stripped away symbolic meaning. The international style's visual neutrality promised universality but produced anonymity. Alberti's Perfect City teaches that beauty is not superfluous but essential to human flourishing. When modern skylines offer only glass boxes, we are deprived of the ethical and sensory nourishment that Alberti saw as architecture's moral duty. The monotony of global modernism is therefore not merely aesthetic, it is spiritual. For Alberti, the piazza is the moral and social heart of the city. It is where the citizens meet to deliberate, celebrate, and remember. Public space is the spatial expression of the res publica, the shared thing of the people. Perfect piazza, he insists, must be spacious, adorned with noble buildings, and proportioned for use and delight. It must also be visible, an image of the city's dignity and justice. The church, palace, and town hall are not isolated monuments, but members of a civic ensemble. In modern global cities, by contrast, public spaces have withered, streets are corridors for cars, plazas are privileged by shopping centers, civic buildings hide behind security barriers. The international city is a collage of towers, each serving its own client without collective meaning. Alberti's emphasis on civic visibility challenges this privatization. The perfect city is a place of encounter and memory where architecture stages the drama of citizenship. In our time, recovering such shared spaces, plazas that express the common good rather than corporate identity, would be a deeply Albertian act. Alberti's city rests on the conviction that physical order reflects moral order. He writes in Book 4, quote, "A city is well governed when, like a human body, each part performs its proper function for the health of the whole." This organic analogy aligns civic virtue, good governance, and urban design. Architecture, therefore, is not politically neutral. A disordered city betrays a disordered polity. The international style, by contrast, emerged from an ideology of neutrality. Universal space, objective form, its blank facades symbolized technological progress and social equality, but also evacuated moral and cultural content. In becoming international, architecture lost its civic and ethical voice. Alberti would have seen this as dangerous. For him, the architect's task is to reveal justice through form. The palace must express dignity without tyranny. The marketplace, fairness without greed. When glass towers conceal power behind anonymity, they enact the opposite of what Alberti envisioned: opacity masquerading as transparency. Thus, the moral indifference of much contemporary urbanism, its claim to serve all while belonging to none, stands as the negation of Alberti's perfect city. In De Aedificatoria, the architect is a philosopher, a statement, almost a theologian. Alberti writes, quote, "The architect should be a man of letters, of science, of moral integrity, so that his works may serve both utility and glory." He saw architecture as an ethical profession rooted in civic responsibility. The architect mediates between nature, society, and the divine order of proportion. Alberti likens the city to a microcosm of the universe, ordered, finite, and intelligible. Its walls define a moral space distinct from chaos. Within this order, variety flourishes, but proportion holds all things in balance. The modern metropolis, by contrast, tends towards infinite expansion, sprawl, repetition, and unbounded growth. Skyscrapers rise without hierarchy, suburbs stretch without center. The limitless city of modernity contradicts Alberti's belief that form requires measure. His insistence on boundedness and human scale reflects a philosophy of finitude. Perfection lies in proportion, not magnitude. Today's megalopolises, vast, amorphous, and placeless, embody the opposite. They are not cities in Alberti's sense, but conglomerations, lacking civic center, symbolic order, and moral identity. By recalling Alberti's idea of the city as a moral cosmos, we confront the challenge of restoring meaning to scale and limit. A perfect city need not be large, it must be legible. Leon Battista Alberti's De Aedificatoria teaches that architecture is a form of moral reasoning, the shaping of the physical world in accordance with the good. His perfect city is not a geometric fantasy, but a living order, rational, contextual, and beautiful. Against the monotony of today's global cities, Alberti reminds us that universality without individuality is emptiness. The international style sought to liberate architecture from ornament and tradition. Alberti sought to liberate it through harmony, meaning, and virtue. 5 centuries separate Alberti's Florence from our glass metropolises, yet his insight remains prophetic. Quote, "Where there is measure, there is order. Where there is order, there is beauty. And where there is beauty, there is virtue. If our cities are to recover their soul, they must once again aspire not only to function or profit, but to virtue through form. In that sense, Alberti's perfect city still stands, not on the Tuscan hills, but as a mirror held up to our own unperfected world."